cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in to. It's time again to cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in to. It's the number one podcast. The topics of discussion when we broadcast. So all them artificial man jokes, we do it natural from the concrete to a public standpoint. Real, wherever you're from, life is coexistence, but to know the real, you just gotta listen. Wherever you're from, life is coexistence, but to know the real.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 52 Scott Podcast. I'm your host, K Money, and in the building with me, my co-host Slash, Freddie G, and Comedian 96. Collectively, we are the Mind of Men. You can find us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at 52 Scott Podcast, Instagram and Facebook, the 52 Scott Podcast, and if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and or subscribe. Welcome, fellas, to another True Tuesday episode. Fellas, I thought we'd make a block and swing back around and talk about this topic, which is respect. And I think we previously may have covered this on a previous show, but like I said, I just felt it was important to come back around and talk about it again because respect is so important, I think, to everybody. And I think that's one of the most valuable things or most important things that one somewhat expects to occur. Now, I've often heard how to get respect, you have to give it. You know, and I've also heard that to get respect, you have to earn it, which I don't agree with either one of these. However, in my 54 years of living, you know, I've come across several people, you know, men, women, peers, and subordinates, and they all have their own perception of respect. Now, I just happened to have a intellectual conversation this past weekend with a group of people I call my extended family, my extended New Orleans family, that is. And this topic came up where respect was concerned, and the age range from the people in this conversation range from, I think, mid-70s to as young as 31. And this 31-year-old female, her name was Yanni. She actually same age as my daughter, and her perception on respect, she felt, you know, you have to earn it in order to get it, which my daughter felt the same way. However, I feel as a parent, you know, most parents, I feel, should get respect just off of default alone. But after hearing this young lady speak, you know, I kind of understood her point of view, and I just kind of want to go over several examples of the different uses of respect and make sure that we have a clear understanding, because I don't think it's difficult to give someone respect, nor do I think it's difficult to earn respect. But I do feel that, you know, at times when people get a certain age, I think they think it's automatically given, and in my opinion, you know, that's not the case. Now, respect can be used as a noun and a verb. And the definition as a noun, there are three definitions. First one, a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. Okay, and an example, the director had a lot of respect for Douglas as an actor. So in that situation, and in that example, the respect level is being given based on what a person is able to do, or their history of what they've been able to achieve in whatever whatever their trade is, I'm gonna say. This one, well, not this, but another definition is due regard for the feelings, wishes, or rights of others. Now, this one I think applies to parents. You know, and an example for this one is young people's lack of respect for their parents. And I wanted to ask you guys, first off, do you feel that as a parent, or do you feel all parents should be respected off of default? Should they be given respect just for GP?
Yeah,
and I'm asking the entire panel your opinion. There's no right or wrong answer; it's strictly your opinion.
In a perfect world, yes.
That's Slash speaking, and Slash says yes, that he does feel that parents deserve respect off of GP, off the rip. What about you, Freddie G?
Yes. However, Off of GP, yes. However, when as they get older, and you have parents who become disrespectful to their children, because at some point the parents need to start respecting their children.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of these parents could become disrespectful to their children. And if you become disrespectful to your child, I know the Bible says honor thy mother and father, but at the same time, you're now being disrespectful to a grown woman or a grown man.
Well, and just to kind of add to that, when you mentioned the Bible and you mentioned the parents being disrespectful to the child, well, the child don't know what's in the Bible. But what you, as a parent, got to understand is that this is what you taught that child, to be disrespectful. So with you being disrespectful to the child learns to be disrespectful because it comes from the parent. If you cussing your child out, you can expect your child to be disrespectful towards you because that's what you're teaching them, on the cool.
And I know you just asked a simple question, K-Money, but overall, by default, yes.
Okay, and you, Comedian 96?
I say yes. I'm like Slash in a perfect world, because it's hard to, I could see it being hard for a child to respect a parent that's probably on drugs or just out in the streets, out at the club more than they are with the kids. You know what I mean? I can see a child, especially if they got some sense.
And that's an older child.
Yeah,
I guess
even a younger child would be like, "Mama, you go to the club," or "Daddy, you go to the club, but you can't get us nothing to eat." After a while, that would be a wear and tear on the child, and they could lose respect. But like I said, in a perfect world, yes, they should respect their parents.
And I'm glad you guys mentioned, I appreciate all of your responses. And Freddie G, I'm glad you mentioned age, as well as the disrespect that parents can sometimes do. Is it by chance you can give me an example of some of that disrespect?
Yeah. So, let's say that you have a child that's 25 years old, right? And that 25-year-old may be having a difficult time finding their way in this world. So that 25-year-old actually lives at home with you. And the 25-year-old is actually trying to put forth a valid effort to get it on his or her feet.
Okay.
And they're really busting their butt trying. That 25-year-old can't catch a break. Just can't catch a break. Now, receiving pressure from a parent to progress, move forward, do this. And now it gets to the point to where that pressure becomes disrespectful. And so now it's like, okay.
The pressure becomes disrespectful in what way?
Verbal.
Okay.
Verbal. Because that parent can't see what what the child is going through or what the child is dealing with, or the parent just refused to see, or the parent can't understand today's time versus, back then. And so I believe that could things could be a little disrespectful that way. And that's an example of living under your parents' roof at 25 years old. But a parent can also become disrespectful just by not respecting their child's opinion. If you're having a casual conversation with your young adult child and y'all don't see eye to eye, you don't have to get disrespectful and pull the mama card or the daddy card just because you don't agree with their opinion. It's a healthy conversation that you guys are talking about, whatever that may be. But because y'all don't see eye to eye on opinion wise, a parent don't respect their child's opinion. The opinion doesn't mean you're right, but it doesn't mean you're wrong either. So a lot of parents will pull the mama card or the daddy card on a young adult when this young adult have their own views and opinions.
Okay, now you use 25 as the age. Let's go 10 years prior to that and say that the child is 15. Do you still think and feel pulling the mama or daddy card could be disrespectful because they're not allowing their child to express their opinion?
No. So a child is 15. I think that it's up to the parent to whether the child actually. I think that it's up to the parent to actually start to respect the child and show respect, because that's also teaching on how that a child should be treated in the world. Now, just because your parents and your child is still underage, you don't have to treat them like some kind of property, or although they're your child, but like some kind of hard boss or something. You still got to show some sort of respect as far as, and you're teaching them along the way, so to speak.
Right.
You know, you're respecting their opinion. You're allowing them to have a voice. There's a lot of parents that don't allow their children to have a voice because they feel that their child is not an adult. Do as I say, not as I do. You know, don't ask me no damn questions. Don't ask me nothing. No. Once you start teaching your child at a young age, to be honest with you, so how do you feel about that? What do you think about that? You know, allowing them to have a voice, to speak, to talk to you, that opens up a lot of doors. Okay. As long as when you take their voice away, they're not going to come and talk to you.
Interesting. So, in that scenario you just used, what if at 15, as a parent, you know, you've noticed and observed how your child has grown, and you don't feel that they've earned the level of respect that they should have at that age? Do you still feel that, you know, the way a parent handles that, they still should, you know, welcome that child's opinion, even if you can see
I do, because here's the thing. See, I don't believe that okay, so I heard you use the word earn, right? And so just because a parent may think a child hasn't earned their respect, I think that as a parent, you should still teach your child respect. And the way that you teach your child respect is not only how you interact with other people outside of the family or other individuals, but how you interact with your child. So all of that goes hand in hand. I just don't believe that. I mean, bottom line is, man, if you keep being disrespectful to your child, and Slash alluded to this earlier, if you keep being disrespectful to your child, you're actually teaching your child how to be disrespectful.
So that respect that was given off of GP, you're eventually starting to lose it as you start to disrespect your child. So that's one way you could lose the respect that you initially had. Mm-hmm. Another way that I feel you could lose respect in Comedian 96, you kind of touched on this, is if a parent is not taking care of their business and their priorities are not in the right place, you know, like you said, they're in the club all the time, but they possibly have a drug habit, and they're not
constantly not working, something like that. Not for the father not being a provider. You know, you could see, man, I can't stand my dad. Man, he don't do nothing. All he do is sit around the house. You know, I can see that being an issue, especially if the child is seeing it consistently as they grow. You know, every time the mama is stressed out and the daddy just disappears. And if that child sees that consistently, they could just lose respect for the dad altogether. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If mama always handling the business, always making it happen, but daddy, you know.
Now, I've seen situations where Cyrus, Comedian 96, like you say,
Yeah.
the dad is not in the household or he's just not around. And that does put extra pressure on the females that take care of their children. Mm-hmm. And I think that causes them to have this feeling, like it's a heavy burden on them. And the worst thing that they do, because I've heard, women that have maybe 3 kids, and the kids may range from maybe 2 years old up to 11 or 12. And I hear the way the parent talks to those children. I mean, like really bad.
Right.
I mean, using cuss words towards a child that if this child say that, you're going to beat them. You know what I mean? Because they ain't supposed to be saying that.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and you don't want your child to be disrespectful, then don't be disrespectful towards that child. Don't teach them those words. Learn a better way to handle it, because this can destroy that childhood. I mean, this can destroy that child's adulthood.
Right.
Because they think and they have to be a certain way because this is what they were taught, to be disrespectful. And the parents don't think that they teaching them disrespect. You think you raising them, but no, you're teaching them disrespect, and that's not raising a child. So it's a lot of stuff that needs to be rethought when it comes to raising children and being respectful to them. Now if a child is bad and they getting out of line at a certain age, and I'm going to say 12 or 13, then 9 times out of 10, that's the parent fault. Because when that, you know what I mean?
You've allowed certain things for it to get to this point.
Or you've treated them a certain way up until now, to where now everything is a backlash, Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful with what you do, because respect, I think, is important on both ends. The parent must respect the child, but first the child must respect the parent, Mm-hmm. And again, the parent comes first. So yes, they do deserve the respect, but you still have to respect that child at whatever age they are for the type of respect that they deserve.
Right.
I know another kind of slick way parents lose respect as well. Those parents, they treat their kids as their friends, going out to the club with them, hanging with them, doing the things that they do.
So you're saying that that's a form of disrespect?
It could turn into a form of not respecting them and just looking at them as their friend.
Oh, okay. I totally agree with that. It's a form of how you can lose
respect,
the level of respect you once had.
Exactly.
Right.
Like, now, my best friend. No, you are my daughter. Or, you know what I mean? You're my son or whatever. You're not supposed to look at me as a friend. I'm supposed to be able to guide you, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Well, like I mentioned earlier, man, I had a conversation over the weekend, and there was a young lady, 31 years old, and she felt, again, her parents should have, they needed to earn her respect in order for her to give it to them. And, when she immediately said that, again, I tied that into, and I looked at her as being my daughter, because her and my daughter are the same age, and my daughter felt the exact same way she felt, as if I needed to earn her respect. And I can remember when my daughter initially made that comment to me, the expression that I had. So, when this young lady started giving her examples on how she was brought up, Freddie G, you hit the nail on the head with this in regards to, the language that was being spoke to her. She was being called out of her name. She was bitches and hoes and things of that nature. And, in my opinion, that was that is disrespect as well as verbal abuse. So, when you deal with that much verbal abuse, I can understand her point of view, even though her same outlook and opinion was similar to my daughter's. I never talked to my daughter in that manner, but I did not allow my daughter to express her opinion. So, Freddie G, when you mentioned not allowing our kids to speak their mind or say their say, so to speak, can be disrespectful, you kind of opened my eyes up, because I never looked at it that way. So I appreciate I appreciate you for opening my eyes to that aspect of parenting, because again, I'm old school and I believe firmly in, do as I say, not as I do type. And if I say something, I expect you to do it right away type of thing. But one reason I did choose not to allow my kids to speak their opinion and I'm not saying that this is an excuse, but just watching them as they grew, I just felt, they weren't taking things serious enough for me to take them serious. So I just didn't allow them that opportunity or that time to express whatever it was that they had to say. In that scenario that I just gave you, would you consider that to be disrespectful?
No. So here's the deal, man. So first of all, we know that there's no rule book to parenting, right?
Correct.
And now, sometimes we take our parenting styles from the people who parent us, and what happens is we'll take some of the things from the way we were parent, and then we may jettison some of the things from the way that we were parent, and then we'll kind of incorporate our own little thing, right? I believe that when you're parenting, if you actually are respecting your child when you're parenting, sometimes respect could come from the tone of your voice. Sometimes respect could come from your choice of words. And if you're teaching in your parenting, even down to where you may be, I know, and I'm gonna get to the point. I know a lady with I think a 9-year-old, and she always addressed him by sir. If he's doing something wrong, he say, "Hey, sir, that's not the way you do that, sir. Mm-hmm. Stop that, sir. Excuse me, sir."
Yeah.
She's always addressing him as sir, and her tone. So when you allow your child to express themselves, not listening to them or not allowing them to do that, I don't think that that's a form of disrespect. But if you're teaching them right, if you allow them to express themselves, even if it's something you think is stupid, dumb, or whatever you want to call it, they'll approach you in a humble manner to say what they have to say to you, to express themselves to you, because they actually respect you. So they'll approach you in a respectful manner to say something that you may think is dumb. Now it's up to you as the parent to take what they said, and if you feel like it's dumb, your response shouldn't be disrespectful to to what you feel like was a dumb statement or a dumb thing. You need to, as a parent, figure out how to give them feedback so that they can see that, okay, that may be a little dumb, or, oh, I didn't see it that way, let me do it this way. If that even makes sense.
No, it makes very much sense, which it is another definition of respect, which is having due regard for someone's feelings, wishes or rights, and I guess, that would be respecting your child's opinion or their views on whatever it is that's being discussed. So I totally get that, and I hate I didn't see it that way back in the day, because it makes a lot of sense now, and it says a lot in regards to, certain things that I'm actually dealing with today.
So check this out. When kids are a certain age, you know what? Let's take it even to the next level. Let's say a 15-year-old, 16-year-old. If a 16-year-old come to you today, your child, and be like, "Hey, Dad, I got a question for you. What would you do if you were invisible?" Now, off the rip, it's like, that sounds like a 7-year-old question.
Yeah, that's a dumbass question.
Yeah.
That sounds like a 7-year-old question. What do you mean, what would I do if I'm invisible? Now, you got some parents be like, "You need to get your goddamn lesson. You over here asking me some shit about goddamn being invisible, and you made an F in fucking history."
That F wasn't invisible.
You understand what I'm saying? You got some parents that will respond like that. You need to goddamn...
Yeah.
You sitting up in that's what you up in your goddamn room thinking about being goddamn invisible, and you 15 years old? Mm-hmm.
You was invisible in class. That's why you got that
Yeah,
goddamn
see,
bell.
some parents would respond like that,
Yeah,
right?
that's me.
Now check this out. That same question coming from a 15-year-old. Hey, Dad, what would you do if you were invisible? Number one, is up to the parent, in my opinion. You listen to that tone. That's a friendly tone. Number one. Number two, that's an opportunity to engage with your son.
Exactly.
Your son or daughter came to you and
Asking.
opened up the door
Asking for advice.
and now you get a chance to engage.
And-
you can take that invisible.
And now you can teach from that.
Yeah,
Use it
you
as a
can
teaching
go
tool.
all kind of ways because now they've actually come to you, and now that's actually open dialogue. You can take that and run with it.
If I was invisible, I couldn't do no wrong.
Yeah. Or if I was invisible, I would do X, Y, and Z or whatever. But there are some parents that can't see that.
Right.
Exactly. And who's to say that parent? That child probably trying to make you happy. Let me invent a cloaking device for my dad or something. Just saying. You never know what's on their mind. They might be trying to invent something.
But that's a definitely for a parent who will respond like that. And came on you not ready.
Yeah, that was me, bro.
Yeah.
That was a missed opportunity to engage in dialogue with the child.
I agree with that. I think timing also plays an important role because I think Slash touched on this earlier. Depending on what that parent is going through at the time, they may not be feeling
The invisible question.
at that time. You know what I'm saying? The time was just right. They too much stress, lights about to be cut off type of shit.
And see, there is no time limit on parenting.
You're right.
So that's why you can't worry about what's going on around you and the problems that you having and treat your kids that way.
It shouldn't take it out. Yeah, don't take
Don't
it out.
take it out on your kids.
Right.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, Sash. Don't take it out on the kid, but check it out, man. I've been approached during some bad time. I was going through something, right? It was very easy for me to say, and I did. Hey, right now ain't the time. I'm really dealing with something right now, but I definitely will get back with you. Let me finish doing what I'm doing here because I'm kind of stressed right now. So, but I ain't forget about you. Let me go and take care of this, and this.
Facts.
Okay. Then I come back. Hey, Then I shed a little light on what I was dealing with. Hey, man, Dad was going through X, Y, and Z. And man. So this is what you got to look forward to at times when you become an adult. But you got to know how to handle it. This is what I did. I was going through this here. I was dealing with this here. And, of course, I'm using the right choice of words when I'm telling.
Right.
But I allowed that to be a teachable moment.
Another teachable moment.
Exactly.
In an adult situation.
Exactly.
And this is not to, and again, man, you kind of touched, really, K-Money, you really kind of touching on some stuff dealing with me personally, right?
With me as well.
And so this is not to say that I'm the best dad in the world, right? This is not to say that I got it all together. And this is not me on the soapbox. But boy, I really do take pride in the way that I parent my children.
Exactly.
I really,
you
really
should.
do. I really do. And I know, especially my son, and I'm sorry to get kind of...
No, you good, bro.
I know that my son listens to this podcast all the time. Man, him and my daughter, they always let me know how good of a job I've done as a father.
That's what's so good. Your
And
flowers.
one other thing, and I'll be done. And I know he listening. He'll be listening to this. Literally, yesterday, me and my son had a conversation. And it was a deep conversation. We always have deep conversations. I wasn't even expecting this. He told me that the one thing I'm really, really proud about when it comes to you is that you taught me how to think.
That's big.
That's big. Yes.
He told me that. I wasn't expecting it. He said, because it's been many times, especially when I come up and I call you and I be asking you for advice, or if it's something going on in the spot or right at the moment, and you always seem to know what to say and how to say it. And he say, and it forced me to be thinking. And Dad, you taught me how to think.
That's a good job.
And boy, that man, that made me feel so good.
Yeah.
So with that being said, man, again, man, I don't know where that come from, man. I just know, and I can't say that I had the best parenting.
Well, it's just validation and confirmation that you did a good job, in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
I got 2 more questions, man, before I close. Once respect is lost, do you guys think that it's hard to obtain it again? And once it is obtained again, do you think the level of respect will be different once you lost it?
Between a parent and a child, I think that if the respect has been lost at some point in time, is due to some type of altercation between the two. However, I do think the respect is able to be regained, just depending on the two individuals. And again, the parent has a lot to do with changing the child's mind, because if the child got a one-track mind and you did something, awful to the child, then we know if, as an adolescent, it takes a lot to get over something, But now if the child is older, above adolescent age, grown maybe, and you get into it, or y'all had some kind of disagreement, and the child, you may not, had differences, and maybe it's a situation where the child don't want to talk to the parent. I don't know what household that goes on in, but I'm sure it does.
It does.
There should be some sort of way to reconnect with this child. I think the respect can be regained, but you have to it's going to take you a little work now. Once you've lost it with the child, it's going to take a little work to regain that respect. But I think it can be done, being the right type of parent. Because again, you have to understand that you are the parent. The child is not the parent, and you still have the choice of words that you use and the tone makes all the difference in how this child receive what you've given to him,
Appreciate that. Slash Comedian 96, you got any insight on that?
Well, to me, it depends on the age. If they're a younger child, if you lost respect, you could gain it back, because children are, influential. You could straighten up and fly right. But I think once a child has hit 18, 19, 20s, 30s, and they lost respect for their parents, I think they'll still have love for their parents, but the respect will probably never be gained again once they become adults. The love will never go away, but the respect probably will. That's my short answer.
Gotcha. You Freddie G?
I think that it depends on the level of disrespect. So I do think that if a parent has lost respect for a child, I think that it'll be easier for that parent to gain that respect back from that child. Gain respect back, being able to respect that child, right? But if a child has lost respect for their parent, it depends on the level of disrespect that the parent did to disrespect that child. But I do believe that parent can gain that child's respect back, but it will require the parent to be extremely vulnerable.
Well, that's true. I agree.
Great point.
Extremely vulnerable.
Great point, man. I appreciate all of y'all's opinion. I didn't intend for the show to just be focused on the respect on a parent and a child, because you have respect in the workplace. You have respect as just a friendly respect. We can go a whole bunch of different directions, talking about respect. But this hit close to home. This hit close to home with me, with the parental and child and again with the conversation that I had over the weekend. So I just wanted to touch bases again with this and hopefully shed some light and open other eyes, because again, just listening to some of you guys' opinion, that opened my eyes to where I may have gone wrong as a parent. You know, I think I did a great job, you know, parenting, but I can sit here and say, look back and see where I possibly could have gone wrong and done things different or better. You know, as parents, we definitely need to lead by example. And the end goal is for all people just to be treated with respect. You know, so I appreciate y'all joining and listening. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Y'all come back tomorrow and join us for another Women Wednesday show. Peace out. This concludes another True Tuesday episode, and be sure you tune in tomorrow for another episode of Women Wednesday with Freddie G. Don't forget to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at 52 Sky Podcast, Instagram and Facebook, the 52 Sky Podcast, and if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and or subscribe. And to all my 52 Sky faithfuls, it may be new to you, but if you heard it here, then you know it's true.